Good morning, fellow freedom lovers. This is Jen, and I want to read you something from Ed Rivera, a bar attorney turned uh, freedom lover, and he's got a article out today called "How the Myth of the quote 3 branches of the U.S. government" end quote came to be. I'm going to read that to you so you can listen while you work around the house or drive to work or what have you. I just woke up, so my mouth isn't quite working well yet, but bear with me, we'll get through it. Where in the Constitution of September 17th, 1787, or the Articles of Confederation of November 15th, 1777, can there be found authority to create 3 branches of government over the American people? The history and the laws of the United States of America record the creation, but not the authority to create the new Congress of the United States, a new office of President of the United States and President of the United States of America, and the Supreme Court of the United States upon the ratification of the Constitution of September 17, 1787. Before we start looking for branches of government, we should ask ourselves, what if the May 25th, 1787 Convention of Delegates as a whole had arrived out the duty imposed upon the delegates to revise the Articles of Confederation in order to achieve more efficient operation of the Confederation government? Sometime near the end of the 20th century, I discovered that the delegates had actually done their duty, that they had developed and drafted alterations to the Articles of Confederation that have proven their value in the operation of the Confederation. The convention also completed the temporary government of the Northwest Territory. The Articles of Confederation were not repealed, and they remain one of the 4 organic laws of the United States of America. I would like to pause for a minute and insert that historically, a repealing clause is required to repeal any law. That goes back for thousands of years. Since laws have been written, they realized that they needed a repealing clause whenever they realized that old laws were no good and they wanted to replace them with a newer law. So the founders knew about this maxim of ancient law, and that a repealing clause is always required when repealing an old law. So if the old law, meaning the Confederation, had been repealed by the Constitution, it would say, this law repeals the Articles of Confederation, or this Constitution repeals the Articles of Confederation. It does not say that. What it says in the preamble is to create a more perfect union. So it appears as though, and I've said this in some of my other videos, that the Constitution is in fact an amendment to the Articles of Confederation. Let's continue his article. The Constitution of September 17, 1787 actually applied to the people and land of the United States under the authority of July 13, 1787 Ordinance for the Temporary Government of the Northwest Territory. The Confederate Congress had conveniently provided a cover for the greatest bait-and-switch con of all time. Article 1 of the Constitution provided a permanent government for the Northwest Territory and all future states. The phrase, Section 3 of Article 1, the Senate shall choose their other officers, permitted the President of the United States of America also hold the office of President of the United States. The Federalist Papers, written by Alexander Hamilton hid the fact that the new president would be consolidated into two offices. And I've talked about these two offices. It's one for the United States of America, being the executive officer of the states, and the other is the president as commander-in-chief of the land and naval forces of the United States and the militia of the states. Let's see. Okay, the documentary evidence. February 21, 1787, resolution of the Confederation Congress. Whereas there is provision in the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union for making alterations therein by the assent of a Congress of the United States and of the legislatures of the several states, and whereas experience hath evidenced that there are defects in the present Confederation as a mean to remedy which several of the states, and particularly the state of New York, by express instructions to their delegates in Congress, have suggested a convention for the purposes expressed in the following resolution, and such convention appearing to be the most probable mean for or of establishing in these states a firm national government. Resolved that in the opinion of Congress it is expedient that on the second Monday in May next a convention of delegates who shall have been appointed by the several states be held at Philadelphia for the sole and express purpose of revising the Articles of Confederation and reporting to Congress and the several legislatures such alterations and provisions therein as shall, when agreed to in Congress and confirmed by the states, render the federal Constitution adequate to the exigencies of government and the preservation of the Union. Article 1, Administrative Legislative Branch. Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution establishes a Congress of 2 years. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives, end quote. Quote, all legislative powers herein granted, end quote, refers only to the one article, to the Article 1, Section 1 bills. Section 2 of Article 1 establishes a Congress of 2 years by requiring an election of representatives every 2 years. Quote, a Congress, end quote, lasts 2 years. Quote, the Congress, end quote, consists of the Senate, which always maintains a membership of at least 2/3 of its members. Article 1, Administrative Executive Branch. Article 1, Section 7, Clause 2 establishes the legislative executive office of President of the United States, who shall have the legislative power described in the referenced clause. Article 1, President of the United States alone has the veto power of Article 1 legislation and resolutions. Article 1, Section 3, Clause 5 of the Constitution. Quote, the Senate shall choose their other officers and also a president pro tempore in the absence of vice president or when he shall exercise the office of the President of the United States, end quote. Establishes how President of the United States is to be selected. The Senate chooses the person who won the Electoral College vote for President of the United States of America to also be the President of the United States. Article 1, Administrative Judicial Branch. Article 1, Section 3, Clause 3, or Clause 6. Quote, the Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments when sitting for that purpose. They shall be on oath or affirmation. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside, and no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of its members present, end quote. This establishes the administrative office of the Chief Justice simply by mentioning that he is to perform the exclusive non-judicial constitutional act of presiding over the impeachment of the President of the United States. The first Congress established by legislation the offices of Chief Justice and Associate Justice of the Supreme Court just days before it enacted the Judiciary Act of September 24, 1789, which created the Supreme Court of the United States, thereby making the offices of Associate Justice and Chief Justice legislative. On June 15, 1971, I graduated from the University of California at Los Angeles Law School and was awarded a Juris Doctor degree. On June 2, 1972, I was admitted to the State of California Bar as member 52737. Will you join me in celebration of 50 years of learning the law? Visit www.organiclaws.org. Dr. Edward M. Rivera. So I believe his website has a course on it that requires you to pay to join. Okay, you can subscribe to his emails. I guess you can watch his videos. He's got papers here. And a lot of the stuff that I learn, I either learn from him or the various books put out by the federal government, the reports, the laws, the congressional records, and just thinking for myself instead of thinking about what I was told in school or told by other people who want to claim that, you know, the Constitution says something that it doesn't actually say. I just think for myself, and whatever they say, whatever the brainwashed people say, I know that's probably not the truth. So you can go here and check out his stuff. It's organiclaws.com. Add this to your toolbox along with all the other stuff I've given you in the descriptions of the various videos I've posted. So here you go. Here's this. This is by Ed Rivera. As far as I know, he still has his bar card, and he sends out articles once in a while, and they're pretty good. Some of them are difficult to understand. If you have questions, we can chat about it in the chat room. Of course, these are just my opinions and may not be exactly along the same lines as his, but I do respect his opinions, and I think they're very valuable. So go ahead and check him out. Share the video, like, subscribe, thumbs up, and I'll see you later.